The private dining room at Lou Bernardine was everything Dad had ever dreamed of for his 60th birthday. Crystal chandeliers bathed pristine white tablecloths in a warm golden glow, floor-to-ceiling windows framed Manhattan's glittering skyline, and the service was the kind of effortless perfection that only a 3 Michelin-star restaurant could deliver. Arranging the evening had set me back $3,000, but the sheer delight on my father's face as he savored his favorite lobster dish made every cent feel like a bargain. "This is absolutely incredible, sweetheart," Dad said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "How on earth did you get us a private room? Don't they have a 6-month waiting list?" "Something like that," I replied with a smile, leaving out the part about having secured the reservation through my company's corporate account, the same account that had catered 3 major events at this very venue over the past month, totaling well over $500,000. My older sister Amanda set her wine glass down with a sharp, deliberate clink. At 32, she was a marketing director at one of Manhattan's most prestigious firms, and she never missed an opportunity to remind people of that fact. Her husband Derek, an investment banker, leaned back in his chair with a look of practiced agreement as she cleared her throat. "Jessica, there's something we need to address," Amanda said, her voice sliding into that condescending register I'd come to dread over the years. "On Dad's birthday?" I asked, hoping to head off whatever was coming. "Especially on Dad's birthday. Look around you. Do you have any concept of what this dinner costs? Lou Bernardine is not a casual night out. The wine alone probably runs more than your monthly rent." My mother, elegant in her pearl necklace and navy dress, shifted uncomfortably in her seat. "Amanda, perhaps this isn't the right moment." "No, Mom. Someone has to say it." Amanda's voice was climbing, drawing cautious glances from our waiter as he prepared the next course. "Jessica is 26 years old. She lives in a studio apartment in Queens. She works some vague consulting job that none of us can quite explain. And yet she's constantly picking up the tab for extravagant dinners, handing out elaborate gifts, carrying herself like someone with wealth she clearly does not have." "I do have money," I said, keeping my voice low and steady. Derek let out a short, cutting laugh. "Really? What exactly is your annual income, Jessica?" "Because Amanda pulls in $180,000 a year plus bonuses, and I make $350. We know what real financial success looks like." "Stop performing, Jessica." "It's embarrassing for all of us," Amanda continued, her voice now carrying further than she probably intended. "You're going to bury yourself in debt chasing an image that doesn't exist." My younger brother Michael, 24 and fresh out of his MBA program, nodded along. "Honestly, Amanda's not wrong. I've been tracking every expense since graduation, and I know exactly what it costs to survive in this city. There is no realistic way a freelance consultant affords dinners at places like this." "Freelance consultant?" I repeated, genuinely caught off guard. "Whatever it is you do with computers," Amanda said with a dismissive wave. "The point is, you need to stop living in a fantasy and start being realistic. Dad's birthday dinner should be at a nice chain restaurant, not the most expensive address in Manhattan." Dad looked pained. "If this is somehow too much, it's not too much for me," I said firmly. "This is exactly where I wanted to celebrate with him." "With whose money?" Amanda pressed. "Your credit cards are probably maxed out funding this whole performance." "I'm not using credit cards." Derek had already pulled out his phone. "You know what? Let's just settle this right now. Show us your account balance. If you genuinely have the funds, prove it." "Derek," Mom said sharply. "That is completely out of line." "No, it's necessary," Amanda countered. "Jessica needs a reality check before she torches her financial future trying to impress us." I looked around the table at these people I love, cheered at my milestones, and who had somehow arrived at the collective conclusion that I was spiraling toward financial ruin. "You honestly believe I can't cover this dinner?" I asked. "We know you can't," Amanda said. "The real question is whether you're finally willing to admit it." The waiter arrived with the dessert course, an elaborate chocolate souffle that happened to be Dad's favorite. As he set it down, he did his professional best to pretend he hadn't absorbed a single word of our increasingly fraught conversation. Actually, I said, reaching into my purse, let me prove you right. I placed my Black American Express card on the table, the invitation-only Centurion card with a $10,000 annual fee and no preset spending limit. It was made of titanium, and its weight in my hand felt oddly grounding. Oh, please, Amanda rolled her eyes. A black card? How much did you spend on that replica? It's not a replica. Jessica, Derek said with exaggerated patience, genuine black cards require you to spend at least $250,000 a year. They don't just hand them out. I'm aware of the requirements, I said, and handed the card to our waiter, who accepted it with practiced composure despite the tension radiating from our table. For the full bill, please. Of course, Miss Anderson. As he walked away, Amanda shook her head. This is exactly my point. You're so invested in appearing successful that you're willing to commit credit card fraud. It's not fraud. Then why do you look like you're about to pass out? Michael observed. You're visibly pale. I wasn't nervous about the card being fake. I was nervous about what was going to happen when it came back declined, for a reason my family could never anticipate. 5 minutes later, the waiter returned with an apologetic expression and evident confusion. Ms. Anderson, I'm very sorry, but there appears to be an issue with your card. The table went completely silent. An issue? I asked, though I already had a strong suspicion what it was. It was declined. Would you like to offer an alternative form of payment? The silence that followed seemed to swallow the room whole. Then Amanda burst out laughing. Oh my God, Jessica. Your fake black card got declined. This is truly something. Derek joined in. A counterfeit Centurion card that doesn't even process. That's a new level entirely. I told you she was putting on an act, Amanda said to our parents, who looked absolutely mortified. And now we're all going to be stuck with this bill because Jessica needed to play the part. Michael was shaking his head slowly. Jess, this is genuinely bad. Fake credit cards, lying about your finances. I wasn't lying, I said, but my words dissolved into the noise of their laughter and accusations. Ma'am, the waiter said quietly, leaning slightly toward me. Should I direct the bill to someone else at the table? Give me just a moment, I said, reaching for my phone. What are you doing? Amanda asked, still half laughing. Calling the fraud hotline to report your own fake card? I was about to respond when a man in a sharply tailored suit strode quickly into the private dining room. I recognized him at once, Thomas Chin, the restaurant's general manager, someone I'd worked closely with across several large-scale catering contracts. Ms. Anderson, he said, slightly breathless. I'm so sorry. I just became aware of the payment issue. The laughter at our table stopped dead. Thomas, I said calmly, is there a problem with the system? No, the system is functioning perfectly. The issue is that we still have an outstanding balance owed to you, $500,000 from last month's catering contract. Our accounting department flagged your card automatically. We cannot run a charge against someone to whom we already owe money. The silence that descended over the table was total. Beneath it, I could hear the soft jazz drifting in from the main dining room, the distant chime of silverware, the low murmur of other conversations. At our table, nothing. $500,000? Dad whispered. From the Morrison Industries Gala, the Goldman Sachs private dinner, and the United Nations reception, Thomas said, consulting his tablet. All catered through your company, Anderson Events. We've been attempting to process payment, but your accounting team requested we hold the check until after the quarterly review. That's perfectly fine, Thomas, I said. Just apply tonight's bill against the outstanding balance. Of course, Miss Anderson. My sincerest apologies for any confusion. He excused himself quickly, leaving us in stunned silence. Anderson Events? Mom asked faintly. My company, I said simply. Your company? Amanda repeated, barely audible. The event planning and catering business I've been building for the past 4 years. Derek stared at me as though I'd said something in a language he didn't recognize. You own an event planning company? I own the largest luxury event planning company on the East Coast. We handle corporate galas, private parties, destination weddings, and cultural events for high-net-worth individuals and Fortune 500 corporations. But you told us you were a consultant, Michael said. I said I consult with clients about their events, which is technically accurate. Amanda's face had gone completely white. How large, exactly, is the largest luxury event planning company? I opened my banking app and turned the screen so the whole table could see it. Last year's revenue came in at $47 million. This year we're tracking towards $68 million. $68 million, Dad said faintly. Dollars. Our client roster includes 12 Fortune 100 companies, 43 high-net-worth individuals each holding assets north of $50 million, and we serve as exclusive event planners for the United Nations, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and the New York Philharmonic. The Metropolitan Museum, Mom breathed. That charity gala you attended last month, the cancer research fundraiser that raised $12 million? I produced that event. Derek was already typing furiously on his phone. Anderson Events. Oh my God. You're Jessica Anderson. The Jessica Anderson. I'm a Jessica Anderson. I'm not sure I'm the Jessica Anderson. Forbes 30 Under 30, he read aloud. Named one of New York's most influential event planners. Estimated net worth of $25 million. $28 million as of last quarter, I said quietly. Plus the value of the business itself, real estate holdings, and investment portfolio. But you live in Queens, Michael said weakly. I live in a penthouse in Long Island City with a private terrace overlooking the Manhattan skyline. The building has its own helipad. A helipad? It's practical for getting to events in the Hamptons. The waiter returned carrying a bottle of champagne. Compliments of the house, Miss Anderson, he said. Manager Chin extends his apologies once more for the earlier misunderstanding. He poured the glasses and retreated. The table sat in silence, each of them working through what they'd just learned. Dad was the first to speak. You're worth $28 million, and you let us believe you were struggling. I never once said I was struggling, I replied. You live simply. You dress without fuss. You drive an ordinary car, Amanda said slowly. I live simply because the work demands long hours. I dress modestly because clients should be focused on their events, not on me. And I drive a reliable car because reliability matters. Mom's voice trembled. But why didn't you tell us? Because I wanted you to love me for who I am, not for what I've built. I needed to know my success was genuinely mine. Derek frowned. We don't have contacts in event planning. Exactly, I said. That's precisely how I knew it belonged to me. Amanda kept scrolling through her phone in disbelief. You planned the Bloomberg Foundation Gala, the one covered in Vanity Fair, the Rockefeller wedding, the Goldman Sachs anniversary dinner, and the UN's 75th anniversary celebration, I added. That was on the news, Michael said, looking stunned. The most elaborate event ever staged, a $12 million production, 6 months of planning. I led the entire thing, along with more than 200 other events over the past 4 years. Dad reached across and took my hand. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. But why the secrecy? Because I was afraid of exactly this moment, I said softly. I didn't want money to change the way you see me. You're our daughter, Mom said. Would you have said that an hour ago, when you thought I was broke? No one answered. We all already knew. Amanda exhaled slowly. I spent the last hour lecturing you about finances, and you're wealthier than all of us combined. You were trying to look out for me, I said. By humiliating you. By caring about me, I corrected. Derek looked up from his phone. This article says you employ 200 people. 237, actually. We just brought on a new creative director. You have staff. Offices. Michael looked like he was still loading the information. Offices in Manhattan and the Hamptons, plus a production warehouse here in Queens. Amanda let out a short, disbelieving laugh. And we thought you were broke. Not broke, I smiled. Just private. Thomas Chin reappeared at the entrance to the room. Ms. Anderson, your bill has been settled. Is there anything else we can do for you this evening? Yes, actually, I said. I'd like to reserve the private wine cellar for next month. I'm hosting my parents' anniversary party, 50 guests to start, but let's plan for 100. I'm inviting everyone. He nodded. Consider it arranged. Mom began to cry. A surprise party? 35 years deserves something worth remembering, I said. Live jazz trio, your favorite flowers, Dad's dessert selections. But the cost, Dad started. Dad, I said with a smile, I've orchestrated $12 million events. This one is priceless. Because you're rich now? Amanda teased. Because you're my family, I said. Dad lifted his glass. His hand trembled slightly. To my daughter Jessica, who has been surprising us at every turn. To family, I said. To family, everyone echoed. Michael leaned forward. That black card that got declined, it's completely real, I said. Sometimes it gets flagged because the merchant owes me money. Amanda laughed, genuinely this time. My sister, the secret millionaire. Not a secret anymore. Mom looked at me with soft eyes. Are you happy? I nodded without hesitation. I love what I do. I love creating perfect moments for people. And I love being able to give you something truly special. Dad smiled warmly. At Lou Bernardine, no less. Only the best restaurant in New York for the best parents I could ask for. Amanda raised her glass. To Jessica Anderson, our family's greatest surprise. Mom followed. To Jessica, our daughter. When we stepped outside into the cool night air, something felt lighter. The truth was finally out in the open, and somehow it made everything I had built feel more solid, more real. Amanda linked her arm through mine as we walked. Next time, maybe lead with the millionaire part before the card gets declined. Deal, I laughed. As long as you never stop worrying about me. Always, she said. Because sometimes the greatest gift you can give the people you love isn't money at all. It's honesty. Even when that honesty arrives with a $28 million footnote.